Back to Decision 2022 coverage right now. Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos is the winner of the Republican primary for Wisconsin's 63rd Assembly District seat. He beat out newcomer Adam Steen, who was backed by former President Donald Trump.
And this morning, we're joined live by Robin Vos, who will continue to work as the state's longest-serving Assembly Speaker in Wisconsin history. And Speaker Vos, thanks so much for joining us live this morning. Appreciate your time with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So congratulations on the victory. It says a lot to be the longest serving speaker in state history. But I'm curious, this was a very close race for you. You won by 260 votes by really a newcomer who was backed by former President Trump. What kind of message do you think the voters of your district sent to you with the election results?
Well, I think the biggest message was that it's time to move on. We had a long discussion over the course of the summer. My opponent was singularly focused on one topic because really we only disagreed on one issue. He believed, along with President Trump, that somehow we could unconstitutionally overcome the election. We cannot do that. And at the end of the day, I think the voters of my district decided not to.
Former President Trump, as you mentioned there, endorsed your challenger and endorsed the now Republican candidate for governor here in the state of Wisconsin. If he moves on to win the governor's office, how do you plan on working with Tim Michels?
Oh, I think Tim Michels is going to do a great job. Of course, my preference was Rebecca Clayfish, only because I had known her, but there was nothing wrong with Tim Michels. I think he is an excellent nominee. When I went door to door and asked people who their preference was, I think almost to a person, they said, look, I'll take either one over Tony Evers. And I think that's where most of Wisconsin is. So I'm excited about the opportunity for us to now reach out and focus our time and talents on getting our message out about dealing with inflation, gas prices, all the bad policies that have been caused by Joe Biden and Tony Evers. I think Tim Michels is going to do a really good job of explaining exactly who we are as a party, what we want to accomplish, and then hopefully we'll have a chance to show that after November.
So you talked about this theme of moving on. Speaker Vos, as you look forward, what happens next with this review of the 2020 election, something it seems as if we've been talking about for years?
Yeah, I mean, Justice Gableman was hired by the Assembly Republicans as a way for us to be able to bring closure to the topic, much like the Democrats did with the Mueller investigation when they thought there was Russian collusion. They spent taxpayer dollars to determine, no, there was no Russian collusion. That's why we did the exact same thing. Unfortunately, sometime in the spring, Justice Gableman decided that he was going to be more focused on buying into conspiracy theories and into what President Trump wanted, which was unconstitutional. You cannot overturn an election. It cannot happen. And he really kind of went off the rails. So now it's our job to go back. We passed a lot of election reforms because there were serious problems that happened in 2020. We're going to focus on passing those reforms again, hopefully with the Republican governor, and focus on the future, not continue to dwell on the past.
You just talked about where the Republican Party is. Is the Republican Party a party that is still led by Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I look at what happened at Mar-a-Lago. That was an embarrassment, again, for the country. We do not want to have people being raided without any kind of, real good due diligence. So I think it's an example where people are frustrated. Look, Donald Trump has done a lot of good things for our country. He certainly has done an awful lot to bring our party new people into it. But again, the only thing that I want to do is to not talk anymore about 2020. I want to talk about 2022 and what we're going to do going forward. I think that's where the vast majority of people that I met on their front porch or in their backyard who wanted to talk about issues, they want us to focus on how we're going to make their lives better. We have problems in our schools. We have problems with our tax code. We have to make sure that at the end of the day, people have faith in our elections. All of those things are about the future. They're not focused on an election that happened 18 months ago.
Assembly Speaker Robin Vos joining us this morning. We thank you for waking up early and being with us.
Thank you very much.